put it in the message, the special notice, the new link, and I'll put it at the bottom of every weekly email. The old one doesn't work for some reason.
Yeah, just test it when you do the weekly messages. And see if it takes you. Sometimes it says too many redirects, and that's when it stops working.
Huh.
I'm very good at resetting. If something doesn't work, I'm like, I'll turn it off and turn it back on. Hopefully that solves it.
Let's see, do we recognize these people? We do recognize them. Are we up to it?
It's the outside shot.
Yeah, come inside now, yeah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It has been an eventful 24 hours that we were not expecting. What we were expecting was the resumption of our family potluck Shabbat dinners that we've been looking forward to for so long, and a very lively 7th grade family Shabbat service. As you know, that has been rescheduled. We will be rescheduling that for probably the early part of December, and the wonderful 7th grade class a bit disappointed. But after I finished tutoring the B'nai Mitzvah students, all 6 of them, yesterday, I came back to the house, and I don't think I've ever had as many text messages and emails all within the space of an hour or two. We're thankful that the credible threat, as the FBI calls it, was lifted, apparently with the apprehension of an individual this morning, but it certainly has disturbed New Jersey synagogue life far and wide. But we're grateful now for Shabbat. We're grateful for the peace of Shabbat, where we can leave behind the troubles of the world, at least for 24 hours or so. You know, we hope that is the purpose of Shabbat. This coming week is going to be an eventful week in the history of this country with the midterm elections, just as this past week, although it didn't get quite as much notice as you might expect here, was a very eventful week in the life of the state of Israel, as they had their election as well. I'll have more to say about the last 24 hours here a little bit later in the service, but to continue the peaceful entrance into Shabbat, I can't think of a better song than Shalom Aleichem, the classic hymn of welcome that you can find on page 20.
This setting of Shalom Aleichem is by Debbie Friedman, and she took it and made one slight change. I'll draw your attention on page 24.
24.
Shalom Aleichem, peace be unto you. Boachem l'shalom, enter in peace. Barchuni l'shalom, bless me with peace. And you'll see on the 4th verse, Tzedchem l'shalom, exit in peace.
Page 24.
Debbie didn't like that. She changed the last word. She made it Shuvchem l'shalom. Shuvchem meaning return peace. We will not be departing in peace. The angels will be with us. We will ask them to return next week as well. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malakei Hasharet, Malakei Elyon, Mimelech, Malkei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bokem L'Shalom, Malakei HaShalom, Malakei Elyon, Mimelech Malkei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malakei Hasharet, Malakei Elyon, Mimelech Malkei Hamlakim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchoni l'shalom Malakei המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שובכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלום עליכם, שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך
All the melodies to Shalom Aleichem reflect the very peaceful nature of that song. And the words on page 29 are particularly appropriate at a time of divisiveness, written by Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook, the first chief rabbi of Palestine. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. The Baruch Hu on the previous page, we rise. Please be seated. As we witness the glory of autumn and the falling of the leaves now in profusion, but also as we get ready to change the clocks once again, some people are saying for the last time that this may be legislated out. We're very aware of the cycle of the seasons and the cycles of light and darkness that are the subject of the next prayer, which we'll read in English on page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai,
Hama'ariv Aravim.
From the world around us to the world within us, Ahavat Olam, page 32. Together in the Shema and V'ahavta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וכשאתם להות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
On page 41, sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. On the previous page, Micha Mocha. Page 42, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Hashkivenu.
Shalom Aleinu ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
And so on page 44, We sang Nismechu last week. We're back to Vishamru this week.
But with a slightly different melody.
Let's see.
Israel, oti leolam, ki sheshet yamim b'Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, v'hayom hashvi'i
For the Tefillah prayer, the Amidah, page 46, we rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia gitehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevit Yona Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mekayeh Kol Atarav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mekalkel Chaim Bekesed, Mekayeh HaKol Berakam Ibrahim, Somek Notanim Berofei Kolim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Avar, Mikamo Kamal Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Menit Umekayem, Umhatzmiach Yeshua, Bremanat Hadakayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'kol yom yalelu kasena. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Let's read together on the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal Open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth.
May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch
Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Many people are understandably anxious about the midterm election that takes place this week, and many people will agree that recitation of a prayer on behalf of our country is very appropriate, very needed, and the words "grant us peace," the beautiful words on page 61, have of course been set to music.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may always be a safeguard of peace. Bless our country and its advocates among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Bless our country, that it may always be a safeguard of peace. Bless our country and its advocates among the nations. May the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, eternal one, who blesses our people with shalom.
Now, at the end of the Amidah, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing, be this a healing of body or a healing of soul. We think especially in our congregational family this evening of Norman Rosen. The flu brought him to the hospital, but today he is now moved to a rehab facility, and we wish Norman a speedy recovery and that he'll come home very soon. And also include Rini Schulman, my aunt, and Andy Schwartz, my cousin, in the Misha Barak this evening. Are there any other names to be added? Misha Barak Avotenu v'Imotenu hu yishlach bimhera rifua shlema, rifuat nefesh v'rifuat aguf v'nomar Amen.
Amen.
Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, in need of healing with refuah shelema, renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
The Torah reading year is very young. We're only at the third parasha, the third portion, although we've come a long way from Adam and Eve to Abraham and Sarah. The mission statement of the Jewish people, if you ask me, is right there in the beginning of this week's Torah portion, and it's 2 words long in the Hebrew. It's commonly translated with almost a sentence. It's the command or the charge to Abraham to go forth, and then it says, you shall be a blessing. Just 2 words, Hayeh Bracha, in Hebrew. Let's pause now, as we do at the end of the Amidah, and think about how we can assist in the mission statement of the Jewish people to be a blessing.
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו
Well, I imagine that many a New Jersey rabbi has changed their sermon for this evening to address the elephant in the room. And, well, certainly that was the case tonight. There was actually a very funny and irreverent skit about Abraham and Sarah that the seventh grade had prepared. I'm going to give them rabbinic dispensation to do that skit in December, even though we'll be talking like about Jacob or Joseph at that time.
Yeah, Jacob and the ladder.
It's okay. It's all in the same family. The week didn't start that well because we were still dealing with the fallout from Kanye West. And even though that name may not mean a whole lot to a lot of older people, he's one of the most famous singers in the world, has been for a long time, and has just a huge social media following. In fact, as somebody remarked, he has more followers in social media than there are Jews in the world.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. That kind of stops you in your track for a moment. And certainly appropriately, corporate sponsors have been withdrawing their name, and he has suffered, but remains defiant and unapologetic with his particular brand of anti-Semitism. And then on top of that, this week, things exploded with Kyrie Irving. And if you're not a sports fan, I happen to be a big basketball fan, as you know. And, I've been a Kyrie Irving fan for a long time because the 1 year of college that he played ball was at my alma mater, Duke University. So, matter of fact, I saw Kyrie Irving's last game before he was basically injured right here when he played in New Jersey when Duke came up to play. And so, he's done some weird things in his years since college, but nothing as egregious. There's a difference between weird and bizarre and then egregious and unacceptable. Yeah. And then his disaster of a news conference, was it yesterday? I think the day before yesterday, just fueled matters. He was suspended by the Nets, I believe, yesterday morning, rightfully so. He has issued an apology in the last 24 hours, which the team has said is a start. But as the general manager said, actions speak louder than words. His initial linking to a blatantly anti-Semitic film and a book was his first mistake. His reaction to it was his second. And hopefully there is a path now toward making amends, repentance, and restoration. We do believe in that. We do preach that all the time, but the rift is there, and the healing will take some time. So on the heels of that, which was national news, because sports figures like Kyrie Irving have a tremendous following as well, just like singers and entertainers. Then, as I mentioned yesterday afternoon, I came back from tutoring B'nai Mitzvah students, to find just that as they say, my phone and computer had blown up with text messages and email messages concerning the credible threat to New Jersey synagogues issued by the FBI. Now we we are already looking back at this incident. In some ways, it unsettled us like the Pittsburgh shooting did of several years ago. But each of these incidents, although this one thankfully did not involve any violence or anybody getting hurt, but certainly shook us, and the FBI has said that person apprehended spouts extremist, fanatical views, and if they had acted on them, there would have been a tragedy, but the disruption was great. But each time this happens, we're reminded that the current of anti-Semitism in this country percolates just below the surface, and every so often it comes to the surface. It just so happens that in my other job as head of JPS that I'm deeply involved right now in editing a book called Saying No to Hate, Overcoming Anti-Semitism in America. I commissioned this book, like many of the books at JPS, found the appropriate writer for somebody who could write for teens as well as adults, and have been very involved in the editing of this chapter by chapter. And one of the things that has been driven home to me in detail, I had known this in general, was the persistence of anti-Semitism in America from its founding until now. It has waxed and waned in its ability to influence the country, but for somebody who really drills down into American history, it's always there. It's always there. And the efforts to overcome it and combat it are likewise there. That's what the book is about. I really can't wait till we finish it. I'd like to use it as a text in our school, our adult education, as well as, of course, elsewhere. The initial chapter on America, in the same way that we understand that slavery began with the beginning of America, if Jamestown Colony was established in 1604, the first slaves came in 1609. Well, anti-Semitism goes back to Peter Stuyvesant in New Amsterdam, even before it was New York. No sooner did Peter Stuyvesant and his cohorts establish what became New York. As we read, we have the documents of him saying, no Jews, don't want the Jews. So when a group of bedraggled Jews arrive here from Recife, Brazil, originally intending to go back to the Netherlands, when the Portuguese were to retake Brazil as a colony, and they end up here, Stuyvesant wants them out and has nasty things to say about them. He would have gotten his way, and American Jewish history would not have begun at that point if it wasn't for the fact that some of those individuals said, we're not going to let this stand. And they wrote to the directors of the Dutch West India Company in Amsterdam. These were enlightened men, and they had close connections to the Jewish community, the strong one, in Amsterdam, the same community at about the same time, though, that excommunicated Baruch Spinoza. That's just about the same time. But nevertheless, the Dutch West India Company, which was the boss, wrote to Peter Stuyvesant and said, no, the Jews will stay. They're entitled to be here. He actually appealed again a second time and was turned down. So, as we say in Hebrew, kol hakavod, all power to the fact that these Jews and their co-religionists in Amsterdam were willing to stand up against this. They were willing to appeal to the Dutch West India Company and get the decree of Stuyvesant reversed. One of the individuals who led that battle was named Asher Levy. There's a park and there's a school in New York City named after Asher Levy. I wonder how many of the students or how many of the people walking through the park realize who he was. Because a few years later, after Stuyvesant reluctantly had to agree, or he would have been out of a job, a few years later, there was a directive for the men of the colony to serve on a militia. But he said to the Jews, no, you can't do that, but you have to pay a tax instead. Asher Levy said, me and the fellow Jews here, we're ready to serve in the militia. We don't want to pay the tax, we want to actually serve. Stuyvesant said, no Jews, don't want that. And once again, they appealed, they fought it, and they prevailed. So that is the theme that, unfortunately, on the one hand, negatively, but positively on the other hand, of the persistence of anti-Semitism, but the will, to fight and overcome it. And every chapter of the book tells that story. I do think it's a story that students should be learning, not just in religious school here, but in public school, in the same way that I believe we need to be teaching what's called hard history or honest history about the role of slavery and the role of treatment of indigenous Native Americans as well. Somebody once said, if you don't shine a light, they multiply in the dark. Speaking about bigots, speaking about people who discriminate. If you don't call them out, they continue and actually become bolder. And wasn't it Jefferson who said that the price of democracy is eternal vigilance? Eternal vigilance to safeguard democracy, which is another whole sermon and another whole subject. A concluding thought. The mission statement of the Jewish people, be a blessing. The next verse of our Torah portion, it says something interesting. It says, I, meaning God, will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Very nice sentiment. However, when I look back on 3,000 years of Jewish history, a lot of people have cursed the Jews, and worse. And I'm not sure they have been cursed, although they have done things to their souls and to the world that forever changed them. But if that activism, that sense of responding to our detractors doesn't come from above, it's up to us. It's up to us to make sure that those individuals who spread hatred, spread racism, particularly of the virulent form of anti-Semitism, are met with a response, resistance all the time. Anti-Semitism has been called the oldest hatred in the world, and some people use the metaphor that we can understand all too well today, that it's a virus. And it's a virus that mutates in every generation. So it's going to come at you in different forms, but it's not going to go away. As far as I know, we have not developed a vaccine against anti-Semitism, have we? And certainly no boosters against it, other than the activism that we can sum it up. It was Jean-Paul Sartre that said that of anti-Semitism, that if the Jews didn't exist, anti-Semites would invent them. It's in, unfortunately, human nature to fear the other, and as a result, to attack the other. And so this eternal vigilance and this determination to shine light where there is darkness and to be a blessing where there is curse is our continuing mandate and mission as the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Aleinu prayer is on the bottom of page 282. It's always nice to open the Ark and see the Torah scrolls. We rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת כלולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומורים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, ואלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מהשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתנו, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
On the Shabbat, we now call to mind and love and reverence the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Adam Goodstein, son of Mark and Paula Goodstein. For all those close to our hearts and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer on page 294. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בהיכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. Did you know that the president of this congregation has run 8 New York City marathons? The New York Marathon is this weekend. Michael is not running in this year's marathon, but he will jog up to the Bima for his announcements.
Well, I counted it, it was 26.2 steps. You get that joke.
Oh, I got it.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I want to thank everyone who came here tonight. It was a decision you had to make, and you made, I think, the correct decision. Thank you, Rabbi, for your talk. And it's ironic that Stuyvesant's name lives on
That's true.
at Stuyvesant High School, where many generations of
Jews.
Jews. Stuyvesant
attended.
town full of
At
Jews.
Stuyvesant Town, exactly.
Kind of poetic.
Yeah.
Poetic justice, and that's the way the world turns. Thank you, student Cantor Flaxman, and I'm so happy that you continue to sing Grant Us Peace. It's a beautiful prayer from the Union prayer book, almost word for word. There are a couple of word changes, and it's an Iris Collin piece, and I hope that it catches on in the Reform movement.
So do I.
Yes. I want to extend thank yous to Leonia Mayor Judah Ziegler and Chief of the Leonia Police Department to Magni, who have worked to provide our congregation with extra security following the indication of threats to New Jersey synagogues. I think there were police outside at the beginning of the service. Thank you also to Rabbi Schwartz, Jody Pugash, Annette DeMarco, and maybe others who rapidly made plans to increase safety at Adas Emuno in response to this reprehensible threat. Torah study meets tomorrow as usual in the social hall at 10 a.m. Religious school will meet virtually on Sunday for the safety of our students and our teachers. We should be back in normal operation next week. Torah study meets, the membership committee will meet via Zoom on Tuesday night at 7:30, and our caring committee meets on Thursday at 7:30, I believe, also by Zoom. Both of those committees doing a great job, particularly appreciative of Barbara and Doris and others who do such great work for the caring committee. Our holiday food collection continues throughout this month, as does our collection of toothpaste, shaving cream, razors, baby diapers, and reusable bags. Finally, well, not quite finally, stop by Cafe Mignon in Leonia, have a cup of coffee or tea, and view the incredible paintings of our Michael Scowden that will be on exhibit throughout this month. His works are featured on the walls of Cafe Mignon. He's a fantastic painter. You might even see Michael there because he goes there all the time to have a cup of coffee. And then there's a reception. That runs all month, November 1st to November 30th. But on the evening of, from 4 to 6 on November 19th, there's a reception at the cafe. So I'd like to see a big turnout from Adas Emuno. Michael would really appreciate it too, I think. Norm, we all wish you a full and speedy recovery. And thank you, Dylan, for live streaming this service as you do so well week after week. And Oneg in the social hall follows the conclusion of this service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
You all should have also received via email, electronic edition of Kadima today. And please make sure to look through it. There's some very nice pictures from the 150th Gala celebration in there. And we want to thank Virginia Gitter, who maybe is watching from Portland, as well as all those who assist her in the latest edition of the Kadima. And it is very appropriate, completely so, to conclude our service with the beautiful song written for this parasha by Debbie Friedman called Lechi Lach. That's the female equivalent in Hebrew of Lech Lecha. Both expressions occur in her beautiful song. It happens to be in the book, in the back, in the song section on page 341. 341.
To a land that I will show you. Lech Lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi Lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach. Lechi Lach. And I shall make your name great. Lech Lecha. And all shall praise your name. Lechi Lach, to the place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, Lechi Lach. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi Lach.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.